Let's look specifically at the rule of three. Rule of three looks like a questioning technique, but it's actually a listening technique. So the aim of the rule of three is to get to the heart of the matter, to find out what the person is thinking or feeling. And with that clarity, it gives you choice about what you respond to, but also it means the other person starts to become more aware of what they do. So the rule of three is like getting on target. So imagine that we have a target and then our questions are aiming to get down to a level of depth. Our first question gets us roughly on target. So it does matter. So it could be, what's going on in your team right now? Now with that first question, you'll then get the responses. And the responses could be, it's tough right now, we're trying to grow. It's really competitive and we're really trying to work out what's important. Now those responses give you a choice about what your next question. Your next question can only come from what they say. And that's where you start to use and listen to what they say. Let's do an example. Question, what's important to your team right now? Engagement, trying to grow, but also prioritization. You'd use that question to create your second question, which could be, when you say prioritization, how are you doing that? And you go, we're looking at value, but we're mostly looking at ability to do. You use the responses there to create your third question. And your third question could be, how are you choosing to do that? Right now, the responses could be, right now, we're looking at historical evidence that shows us that. We're also trying to focus on what really is going to be linked to the strategy and direction. Next question would come, how are you doing that? And you go, well, that's probably an area that we're getting, and then off you go. Now, these responses that you see, you're using to make the person get clear. And you could see that even in my explanation. I had to start to get much more specific. Now, the reason it's called the rule of three is most people ask one question, they'll ask a second question, and then they stop. The rule of 3+ says that once you get to the second question, you get into the third question. You're then in a level where you're finding out specific, unique information from that person and you're making them think. So the rule of 1 is ask one question. Rule of 2 is ask a second question. Rule of 3 is about the third, fourth, and fifth question. Rule of 1 or 2 we call amateur. Rule of 3+ we call professional. You can see how the application of this skill will enable you to have better conversations, deeper understanding, and increase your influence. Impact of that reduction. There would be cost saving in X and a revenue growth. Staff would feel more engaged because things are getting completed faster. All the responses are getting more detailed and thorough. Now, the reason it's called the rule of 3 is most people ask one question, they'll ask a second question, and then they stop. The rule of 3+ says that once you get to the second question, you get into the third question. You're then in a level where you're finding out specific, unique information from that person and you're making them think. Rule of 1 or 2 we call amateur. Rule of 3+ we call professional. You can see how the application of this skill will enable you to have better conversations, deeper understanding, and increase your influence.